Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Esoteric and a continuing series that's PlayStation 1, except it's not. And today we're taking a look at two of the Mr. Driller games. Mr. Driller G we're going to be playing on the PlayStation 1, and Mr. Driller the original we're going to be playing on the Namco System series of boards. But if you've never played Mr. Driller before, you definitely want to check it out, but I do love the PlayStation 1 version for giving this animated intro FMV, something you do not get in the arcade releases. And we're going to start with Mr. Driller G just because that's how I felt like doing it. Before I get too far involved though, do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like, subscribe, that notification bell definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, there's a Patreon link down below as well. But honestly, Mr. Driller G is a very simple game to start to play, and a very complex game to get good at. In some ways it feels like Tetris in reverse. As opposed to dropping blocks, you're chopping them away with Mr. Driller. The mechanic is simple. Don't get squished, don't run out of oxygen. And while those are the only two things you really need to worry about, board management and understanding spatial awareness in Mr. Driller and the entire series is paramount. You don't want to get crushed because you'll lose a life. You only have so many lives to get to the bottom goal. If you run out of lives, that's it, you start over. But the great part about Mr. Driller is that each round takes at maximum maybe 3 minutes, and I'm showing you one from start to finish off the top here. The first general area getting to that 500 feet is not that big of a deal, and you can slow down because if you take a look at that big blue circle on the right hand side of the screen, that's your oxygen meter. Run out of that and you're taking a death, and you will see the air sporadically placed throughout the map. You need to decide when it's a good time to get that air and when it's a bad time, because every board is going to be set up differently and you have to read the situation. You don't want to have to break one of those brown blocks, because I just lost 25% of my air having to do that. That is basically almost a death sentence in this game in the later levels. The other thing is, and you'll see here, it's probably going to happen soon, I'm finally going to get crushed by a block. Now depending on it, there it is. Depending on how you break those blocks, you can get things suspending in midair and they will not fall. But that means you have to actively read the play area and decide not only what is good to work towards below you, but you also have to manage what is above you. And you can tell this playboard is going by very quickly because you're also being timed. That's part of your score. Again, I trapped myself in one of those blocks and it was a mess. But just like Tetris, if you knock enough of those same color blocks together, all of a sudden the board is going to start crumbling below you, and you don't really need to have to do anything to cause that to happen. That's a free gimme, but you need to set up for it unless you get lucky and just make it happen. And you'll see here I just avoided getting crushed again, because once you hit that goal, you do have a little bit of an invulnerability. But that's what's so much fun about Mr. Driller. It's a quick, fast-paced puzzle action game that is going to suck you in and you're going to become addicted to it. You can sit down and play it for 10 minutes and walk away, but be careful, because when you try to play it for 10 minutes, you might be there for 2 hours because you're going to keep saying to yourself, just one more match. And you will see there too, sometimes slowing down is the right move. If you're not sure what's above you, give it some time, look around and decide what you're going to do, because you can see those blocks there are suspended. As long as you can drill straight down with nothing falling on top of you, it is impossible to die from getting crushed. But we can't talk about Mr. Driller without talking about just how colorful and charming this game is. The graphics, the sprites, the backgrounds are very simple, but the colorways and overall vibe that this game has just look spectacular. You'll see there I just avoided that death because I saw what was coming and I stopped for just a moment. But I love these pastel colors, I love the characters, everything about this is just so much fun. Mr. Driller is an amazing game, and you will see here that it looks really nice. When we move over to Mr. Driller G, we're going to see that it is interlaced, and that's a little bit of an unfortunate effect of the PlayStation 1 version of the game, but I did want to talk about both of these. And you'll see here I'm getting real low on oxygen, but I was able to pick some up. And I think maybe I said we were starting with Mr. Driller G earlier. Clearly that's not the truth, so if I did, correcting myself now on that. But I got crushed again, and you will see there we are getting really close to out of lives. Once you run out of lives, that's it, it's over, you gotta try again. But this game also has an incredible soundtrack, so go ahead and listen, I will be right back. puppy got smushed, and now we are over to Mr. Driller G. I reversed those in my own brain when we started this game. But this has a lot more features, being the third game in the franchise. There's Mr. Driller, Mr. Driller 2, and Mr. Driller G. And you're going to see here, this game on PlayStation 1 has a ton of animated cutscenes. Obviously playing the Japanese version, so what do they say? We don't know, but you also get sort of a campaign or story mode. And that's where this game, probably better on PlayStation 1 than in arcades, but you can make the choice. Because this first match here, we have an AI opponent that we need to face off against. And now, it's not just trying to stay alive because you can die. It is getting to the finish before your opponent. You'll see on our screen and their screen, you get a little shadow opponent. You can see where they are. And this is where the game becomes even more of a frantic chase. You're not just worried about trying to see the end of this board, you're trying to get to the end of it before your AI opponent. It really makes the game come alive, and I do love the campaign mode because it allows things to vary up, because obviously this is the type of game, just like if you enjoy Tetris or Puyo Puyo, once you figure out how to play it, nothing ever really changes. It's just a different board, and you challenge yourself to see how much faster you can go, what sort of high score you can get, and what sort of situations you can get yourself out of. And that's why I love a game like this so much. Within 5 minutes you know exactly how to play the game, but you're never going to master it no matter how much you play. There's always going to be some improvement you can get. And in a match like this, you see that I am getting really low on oxygen in some spots. You need to decide when you want to slow down and get more air, and you need to decide when you want to speed up because you're close to the finish and you want to beat your opponent. Everything in Mr. Driller is a trade-off. If you're going to do X, it means you can't do Y. If you're going to do Y, it means you can't do X. You need to decide what's going to happen and when it's going to happen, and whether or not that risk is worth the reward if you execute it properly. And that's why these games are so much fun. You're constantly thinking on your feet, and in this instance you get some really fun cutscenes in between as well that kind of bring you to the next area. And even though graphically it's not anything special, the artists have done an amazing job because the world of Mr. Driller looks exactly like I think it should. I love how everything is going on in this game. It is just such a fun time. But if you haven't played a game like this before, leave me a comment down below and tell me why. Are you into the puzzle sort of action genre, or is it something that you don't play? I'm curious how many people here play Tetris, Puyo Puyo, things like that. It isn't my favorite genre, but I still really enjoy it, and I would say that Mr. Driller is probably my favorite of the puzzle genre outside of something like Puzzle Bobble. I almost included Super Puzzle Bobble on the Taito G-Net here, but I just decided not to because I think most people know about that game. There's not a lot of people that are going to say, I've never played it before. But if you've never played Mr. Driller before, leave me that comment down below and tell me, are you going to play it after this video? Because I really am curious to see what people think about this game. And it was a fun video to do because I was able to mix two of them together. Now I will say, if you want to emulate Mr. Driller 2, the arcade version, it's just not going to happen because MAME doesn't get it done. But these games aren't the most expensive if you want to buy an original arcade board for them. They're going to be a couple $100s, and the amount of replayability you get out of them I think would be well worth that money spent. But it's not like they look much better than the home console versions, unlike some of the other games we've talked about on this series where the arcade version has way more polygons or a better look. This is a very simple game, and it's not anything that the PlayStation can't handle pulling off. So definitely, yeah, you could just probably play that console version if you so want. But again, Mr. Driller is just a massively fun game. You think you're going to play it for 10 minutes, and then suddenly you've lost 2 hours to it. And that's the highest compliment I can give to an arcade game, when all of a sudden time goes by and you don't even know where it went. But Mr. Driller, it is amazing. We're going to have more videos on the PlayStation 1, but not exactly series next week, and we'll have videos throughout the week as well. But I hope you guys are enjoying these PlayStation 1 videos. I wanted to talk about the hardware, but I didn't want to just talk about the PlayStation 1 straight up, so this is my way of kind of keeping it arcade and really esoteric themed on the channel, while still showing you guys some really fun stuff. But short of that, Mr. Driller is about ready to take his last death here, but I will see you guys next week. Like and subscribe, all that jazz, and don't let any blocks fall on you. Bye bye.